You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron. Now here's your host, Ethan Hristodoulou.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Greeks Gridiron and a happy football Sunday. I am Ethan Hristodoulou, and as we get set for another week of football action from bright and early in the morning all the way to the evening on this Sunday, here week 6 of the NFL season, we got Monday Night Football games to preview, as we always do before those games get going. I am taping this before Jets and Broncos kicks off, but we got to dive in. We got to break down Bills and Falcons, and we're also doing Bears and Commanders, but that'll be in a separate video, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out to that. But we're looking at Atlanta hosting Buffalo, so as always, I invite you all to comment down below. Let me hear from you. Thoughts, opinions on the matchup, who's coming out on top, and why. But without further ado, Bills and Falcons. ATL coming off the bye week, whereas Buffalo's coming off of a very shocking upset loss to the New England Patriots on Sunday Night Football, as the Patriots were able to put them away 23-20 on a game-winning field goal. Both these teams, obviously, in varying degrees of places right now. Atlanta, as it currently stands, some highs, some lows. It's been a solid season so far, I guess you could say. Whereas Buffalo, their Super Bowl favorite, 4-0 going into that matchup last week, ultimately coming off that shock loss, and now they're looking to rebound and continue their tear that they've been on so far this season. When I look at this matchup, the first thing that I really like to look at and what kind of comes to mind is the pass defense for both of these teams, because both units, from the secondary to the linebackers that drop back into coverage, very effective teams. And even the guys up front rushing the quarterback are all very much effective units. Now, Atlanta, as it currently stands, statistically speaking, first overall in terms of passing yards per game allowed this season. Buffalo right behind them, ranked at second. Very efficient when it comes to stopping teams through the air. You also look at the way their pass rushes have worked so far. Atlanta and Buffalo both about 2.5 sacks per game, about 12 pressures per game. They're able to generate pressure, get after the quarterbacks, make them comfortable, maybe force them into a mistake or two here or there. There's a little bit of a discrepancy, though, on that front. When you look at Buffalo's pass rush, 13 sacks this season, 7 of them coming in just their last 2 games alone, 3 and 4 respectively. Atlanta, though, only 10 sacks. And now, again, averaging about 2.5 per game, similar to Buffalo. The one difference, though, is that 6 of those 10 came in one singular game against the Vikings offensive line that was not looking too hot in that matchup. Ultimately ended up being a decisive victory for Atlanta. So when you look at just the remaining numbers, you're looking at basically 3 sacks in their last 2 games. They had 1 sack week 1 of the season. So you're hoping to see a little bit more from that unit up front, especially when you're going up against a quarterback like Josh Allen. Now, you've seen the way he's played this season, 9 passing touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. Completion rate's sitting around 70% right now. The threats are obvious. A Khalil Shakir, a Keon Coleman, a Dalton Kincaid, who's coming on really strong as their lead tight end this season. Kind of surprising everyone because he hadn't really been able to make that jump to this point here. And then, of course, James Cook, as good of a running back as he is out of the backfield running with the football in his hands, he is just as good as catching and making plays on top of it. So you have a really threatening offense to work with. Now, Kincaid is questionable, may or may not miss the game. It seems like he's trending to playing, but always something to keep in mind up in the air. You got to have a good defense. You have to have a good pass rush. You have to be able to slow down what Josh Allen is doing, because I don't really know if I can believe in Michael Penix and this Falcons offense going shot for shot if they're not able to hold them back. Penix has had a bit of an up and down season so far this year. 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, completion rate around 62%. You obviously have a talented group of guys, and they match up pretty well. When you just look at, on paper, offensively, I would maybe even give the edge skill talent-wise to Atlanta, because I'm a big fan of Drake London. I'm a big fan of Bijan Robinson. Darnell Mooney's not in this game, so that's unfortunate, but I am a big fan of his, so if he's healthy, I feel even better about Atlanta in this one. And, of course, Kyle Pitts. The offense is really starting to catch fire through the passing game. It's just a matter of Penix cleaning up mistakes, decisions, things like that. Whoever's pass rush, in my opinion, comes out on top in this one ultimately leads this team to victory, because if you're disrupting Michael Penix, I feel like you can force him into some more mistakes being a younger quarterback. Josh Allen on the flip side, though, even under pressure still makes incredible plays, so definitely something worth keeping in mind. The other thing that I'm looking at, though, that I do think really dictates this game and ultimately opens up a window for maybe even an Atlanta Falcons upset win in here, Buffalo being favored, is the turnover battle. New England showed that Buffalo is beatable, and it's got to be by taking the football away. And Josh Allen threw a pick, but there was a couple of fumbles that New England came away with as well. And that's where you really need to look at that sort of stuff, because you're not going to beat this Bills team straight up. They are good for scoring fairly often, one of the better scoring percentages in the NFL, drive by drive. And the only way to come away with a victory is not only turn the ball over, but take advantage of those turnovers as well. And we saw New England do that. Buffalo had only one turnover going into that matchup with New England last week on Sunday. They ultimately came away with 3, and they still only won the game by 3 points on a late field goal at the end. So for Atlanta, who's taken the ball away 6 times this season, similar to the sack conversation, 4 of their takeaways did come away in that same Vikings game, but they do still have a couple of other takeaways sprinkled in there as well. But Buffalo's been consistent. They've been good for at least one takeaway a game. Their defense, very good at what they do, well-oiled machine. Even like one of those teams that is, again, always kind of like greater than the sum of their parts in my eyes. That is definitely something worth keeping in mind. That turnover battle is going to be huge. Also, on the flip side, Matt Milano not being in this game once again for Buffalo, that is definitely something that's concerning for the middle of that defense. And ultimately, when we go back to like the offense and just how the Falcons offense and how they're going to look to attack this Buffalo Bills defense, Bijan Robinson getting himself open in the middle of that football field when he's coming out for catching passes or even just running the football, being a little bit weaker on the linebacking room overall, definitely something worth watching there. As for who's going to actually win this matchup and come out on top, the fact that this one's in Atlanta does complicate the game a little bit more for me. You have the Bills, big chip on their shoulder coming off that loss. Excuse me, battling a little bit of bronchitis here as I'm getting better. But the way it stands right now, Buffalo should be coming in and kind of feeling some type of way with that loss to New England that they had, whereas Atlanta's coming off a bye week, fresh, ready to go. They're coming off of a really good win over Washington as well, so they should be feeling pretty good coming in this matchup and ready to maybe be the next team that makes a big prove-it moment happen for them against a Super Bowl contending team like the Buffalo Bills. I just don't know if I can, when I break it down and just look at like quarterback matchups, the Michael Penix like roller coaster that we've kind of seen from him so far this season makes me fade Atlanta's offense a little bit. Again, I know they had a really good showing against Washington a couple of weeks ago, but even that could have been a little bit of just the offense of Washington not really on the same page, putting themselves in bad positions defensively, not scoring points when they needed to ultimately. But I think I'm leaning Buffalo on this one. I like the Bills. I think Atlanta has a route to potentially steal a win in this game. I just, in my head, can't really come up with how it's going to happen. The consistency of Buffalo's defense and being able to make plays and force a turnover makes me feel like you're probably good to see at least one in this game once again from Buffalo. And the pass rush not being nearly as good as I was hoping it was going to be for Atlanta to this point in the season, especially with that showing against Minnesota all those weeks ago. I really thought that they had kind of addressed the issue, and again, they've looked better than last year, but I feel like you need a little bit more. Maybe they have that opportunity to prove themselves this week against Buffalo, but Josh Allen's a head case, and when you're trying to get after him and deal with what he can do in the pocket, if he gets going, you're trying to, you're too aggressive, rushing the edges, you break contain, Josh Allen will kill you on the ground. It's just one of those things that I'm having a very difficult time finding the Atlanta Falcons victory in here. I'm sure by saying this, we'll wind up seeing a Falcons win, and I'll eat my words like I have been these last couple of weeks. But I do like the Buffalo Bills. I think Atlanta could hang around, though, especially with it being at home. That is definitely edging in their favor. But I'm thinking something along the lines of like a Buffalo Bills 28-20, like 28-20, something like that, something in that ballpark, give or take, something along those lines. That being said, comment down below. Let me hear your thoughts, your opinions on this matchup. Who's coming out on top? Who's going home? Let me hear from you. But as always, if you made it to the end, I greatly appreciate it. Make sure you're subscribed so you can catch my other Monday Night Football preview. You can check out my other predictions if you haven't seen those as well. If you're new to the show, we're just here for a good time. None of this is betting advice. I'm not some guru here. I'm here to talk football with you all, converse in the comment section, just have a good time. I love football, and my show is for those that love football all the same. So if you made it to the end again, greatly appreciate it. I'll see you all next time. Have a good one.